afternoon, Crochet Crew, and welcome to the tutorial for my pumpkin witch. Isn't she adorable? There's a lot to do in this tutorial, so we're going to get through this really quick. Okay, we'll move her out the way. So for this tutorial, you're going to need a 3.5mm hook, a pair of scissors, a tapestry needle, and then the yarn. So I'm working with double knit yarn, and we're going to need an orange for the pumpkin, a black for her hat, and a green for her hair. So that is what we need. Oh, finally, lastly, we're going to need some stuffing to stuff that pumpkin. All right, let's get started. So using our orange yarn, we are going to start with a slip knot. Okay, and pop that on your hook. We're then going to chain 25 stitches. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, and 25. Okay, so in the second stitch from our hook, so this one here, that's your first and that's your second. So in the second stitch from our hook, we're going to start with a single crochet. So we're going to pop our hook into the stitch, grab our yarn, pull it through, then grab our yarn again and pull through 2 loops. So we pop our hook through the stitch, grab our yarn, pull it through, grab our yarn again and pull it through. And one last time, pop our hook through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn and pull through both loops. Okay, we are then going to do 3 half double crochets. So we are going to wrap the yarn around our hook, pop it through our stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to grab the yarn and pull it through all 3 loops. Okay, so we wrap the yarn around our hook, pop it through the stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, and then grab the yarn again and pull through all 3 loops on our hook. And one last time, we'll wrap the yarn around our hook, pop the hook through our stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through the stitch, grab the yarn again and pull it through all 3 loops on our hook. Okay, we are then going to work 12 double crochets. So we wrap the yarn around our hook, pop the hook through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. You're going to grab the yarn, pull it through 2 of those loops, and then grab the yarn again and pull through the remaining 2 loops. Okay, so we wrap the yarn around our hook, pop the hook through our stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. So one last time, we wrap the yarn around our hook, pop the hook through our stitch, grab the yarn and pull it through, grab the yarn, pull through 2, grab the yarn, pull through 2. Okay, so we are going to work another 9 double crochets. That's number 4. 5, 6, 7, 8, and 9. Okay, so after our double crochets, we are then going to do 3 half double crochets. So a reminder, we wrap the yarn around our hook, pop the hook through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and then grab the yarn and pull through all 3 stitches. Okay, so that is a half double crochet. Okay, and we finish off the row with 3 single crochets. So hook through the stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, grab the yarn and pull through 2 stitches. Okay, and that is your first row. And that row, so that combination of the stitches, 3 singles, 3 half doubles, 12 doubles, and then followed by 3 half doubles and 3 singles, that is the repeat. So we're going to work that stitch pattern every row until the pumpkin's done, essentially. The only difference each row is that we'll be working through the back loop only. Okay, so to start your row off, you chain 1, and it's not counted as a stitch. Okay, and then to work through the back loop only, we twist our work slightly so you can see these 2, sorry, move the yarn out of the way. You can see the 2 loops on the top of your stitch. Okay, and we are going to be working through that back loop only. So only going through that loop there. Okay. So we're going to start with 3 single crochets through the back loop only. That's 1. That's 2. And that is 3. Okay, followed by 3 half doubles. So 1, 2, and 3. Okay, and then 12 doubles. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. We are then going to work 3 half doubles. 1, 2, 3, and then 3 singles. 1, 2 and 3. And then we're going to chain 1 and turn the work. Okay, we'll work one more row together. So into the back loop only, 3 single crochets, 1, 2, 3, 3 half double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 12 double crochets, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so 3 more half doubles now. One, up, 2, and 3, and ending the row with 3 single crochets. 1, oops, 2, into this last stitch, 3. Okay, there you can see that is our 3 rows done. And this pattern you can see, so the raised edges, it's almost a ribbing pattern. That is created by working into the back loop only. Okay, so we're going to continue to do this. The same pattern is 3 single crochets, 3 half double crochets, 12 double crochets, and then 3 half doubles and 3 singles. We're going to continue to do this for another 26 rows. So you'll have 29 rows in total. I'm going to get that done, and I will come back to you when I'm working my 29th row. Welcome back. We have now done 28 rows, as you can see, curling around. We're going to finish the 29th row together, and then we're going to sew it all up. So into the back stitch, 3 single crochets, 3 half double crochets, and 12 double crochets. Oops. And let's count already. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. There we go. We're doing half doubles now. And finishing off with 3 singles. Okay. I am going to snip the yarn. I'm going to give it quite a long tail though. Snip the yarn. So as you can see, I've left quite a long tail. I don't suspect I'll need that much, but so just pulled the yarn through, and we're now going to sew our pumpkin together. So we'll thread our tapestry needle. Okay, I've left the tail is far too long actually. I'm going to cut it shorter. We don't need it to be that long. That was a bit over enthusiastic of me. Okay, so when we sew our pumpkin together, we are going to sew so we'll do it this way around. There we go, we'll do it this way around. That's better. So you'll match up stitch by stitch, but we're going to sew, I don't know if you can see me there, you can, we're going to sew on this stitch here, these stitches, so the front stitch only, and we'll link it up to the chain stitch there, okay? So you'll match it up stitch for stitch. We'll go in and out, stitch by stitch, okay? I've gone through the hole there. There we go. Okay, I've said okay a lot, sorry. Go through that front stitch. And I'm going to flip it down this way so it's easier to sew. And we'll go through one of those. And then through one of those. Okay, so one at a time. We'll sew through. Move that out the way. I keep catching it. I'm just going to move that to the inside and hold that with my fingers inside the pumpkin. So with this part, it is important to take your time and not rush it, just to make sure that it's not, that it's going to, because it's going to be on the outside of your pumpkin, you still want it to look good, you know, you don't want to, there we go. You want it to still look good. So, yep, there we go. That one and that one. So as I've done just a second ago, every now and then you want to just pull your thread quite tight. Don't pull it too tight to stretch everything too thin, but pull it quite tight, just so you can see, as you can see, what it looks like there. That's as tight as I'm going to pull it, just not so that it's scrunched up tight, but to make sure that the thread is taut. Okay, so that's it. Before I've pulled it tight, you can see there's a little bit of gaps between there, so I'm just going to give it a bit of a tug, and it's pulled taut now. See? So I'm going to finish sewing up the rest of this side of my pumpkin, and I will be back when I get to the bottom of the pumpkin. So that is our seam all pulled tight, sewn tight. So we're now going to sew the top of the pumpkin, or the bottom of the pumpkin together, and to do that we're going to go in and out on each stitch. So in that stitch, each row, so from here we'll go in and out and back in and back out. So see how the needle's going? Okay, and we'll do that all the way around the pumpkin. In, out, in, out. So in and out, and in and out. Where is our seam? I'm past it. There's our seam there, so we've got a few more rows to go. One, and out, and in, and we'll come back out on, actually no, we won't come back out, sorry. Stay on the inside of your pumpkin, okay? So I'm going to grab my needle from the other side and pull it through, actually, sorry. So we've done the in and out all the way around our pumpkin, and we're now going to pull that tight. Okay. And there you have it. You've got the bottom of your pumpkin. Okay. I'm just going to go around one last time. Bring it all together one last time. Like so, okay? So now we're going to stuff our pumpkin. Now, when you're stuffing your pumpkin, you want to make sure you don't overstuff it. So when you overstuff it, it would look, you would be able to see the stuffing through the pumpkin, essentially. And we don't want that. Okay, so I think that is stuffed enough. I could probably get away with a little bit more, actually. So give it half that first. Put that in there. I'll do a little bit more down there, probably half that side. Okay, I'm gonna squish it around a bit and squash it down. Okay, just to shape the pumpkin. Okay. I think we may have overstuffed it a little bit, but we're going to squash it down a bit. Okay. So there we have it. We have one stuffed pumpkin. So now let's unravel our needle. Now we're going to take our needle and stick it right through the middle of the pumpkin. Right, and pull it out through the other side of the stuffing. Be careful not to stick the needle in your fingers. Okay, and we're going to do the same thing on the top as we did on the bottom. Okay, we're going to go in and out. We're going to do it a little bit more carefully on this row. Just because this is the top of our pumpkin. We are going to put this under the hat, but you just want to make sure it's done a little bit more carefully. When you get to the end of your row, or the start of your row, rather, we pull the needle out and we pull tight, tight, tight. Okay, and pull it tighter again, so you're getting this little dip in your pumpkin, like so. Okay, and again, like we did on the bottom, we're going to take the needle around the ring again, just to secure it, make sure it's nice and tight. Now for me, I've got this is the seam of my pumpkin, and that is where the thread is pulling on the inside. Now I quite like that. I think it gives the pumpkin a little bit of character. If you don't like it, you can pull your thread out a little bit and release it so it's not quite so tight, like so. Now you'll still have a little bit of a ridge, that's just where the seam is, but it won't be quite so obvious when the pumpkin's not, when you haven't pulled it quite so tight, okay? So we'll pull it a little bit tighter, like so, and we're going to seal off our pumpkin. But again, we go around the ring at the top of our pumpkin just to make sure that that is secured tight. Oh. Like so, and then we are going to create a little ring at the top, a little loop, right, and we push the needle through it, pull tight. Okay, we're going to do that again by crossing over the top of the pumpkin, creating a loop, and we're essentially creating a knot here, and we're pulling tight. Okay, and one last time, and pull tight. Okay, to push your end through, what you're going to do is you push your needle into the stuffing and then squeeze your pumpkin. Be careful not to squeeze too tight so that you're pushing the needle into your finger, but squeeze your pumpkin and then push your needle out through the side, squeeze it tight. All right, pull it all the way out. Then snip off your yarn and let go of your pumpkin, and that thread is hidden inside your pumpkin. Okay, so that is the start of your pumpkin, or your pumpkin witch, your actual pumpkin, which is looking great. I am going to work next on the stalk. For the stalk and the witch's hair, we're going to use our green yarn, and to start the stalk, we're going to need a magic ring. So to create a magic ring, I grab, leaving a little bit of a tail, I grab the tail end of the yarn between my thumb and my forefinger, like so. I then wrap the working end of the yarn around my forefinger and my middle finger, making sure that the working end is at, the working end loop is at the back there, like so, okay? And then I just hold it in place with my pinky finger. Taking my hook, I go under the first loop and grab the yarn, like so. I then turn my hook around, put it through that loop that we've just created, grab the working end and pull it through. And I'm going to just grab that again and create a chain, like so. It's easier to do it now because the magic ring loosens a little bit if you don't do it straight away, or if I don't do it straight away. I'm sure other people have managed to do it fine. Anyways, so we've got our magic circle with a chain in it. We're now going to put 6 single crochets into this magic ring. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, once you've got your 6 stitches, 6 single crochets in there, we're going to pull the tail end and we're going to pull this tight so that there is no gap in the top there. All right, don't pull it too tight that your yarn snaps, but make sure you pull it tight. Okay, and that is what it looks like. Okay, so from here, we are going to work in spirals, just 6 single crochets at a time. Okay, so we're going to single crochet into each stitch. And we're going to do 2 or 3 rows of just plain single crochets. So 2, 3, oh no, it didn't go through both. There we go. 4, 5, and 6. And we're going to do that 2 more times, I think. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and one more time. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, at this point, you can see you've got a little stalk there, but at this point, you can take your tail end, and just snip it off. Okay. Right, so what we're going to do from here is sorry, I'm just untangling my yarn. I don't know what's happened here. We're going to create the hair. Okay, and we're going to create it straight onto the stalk. Okay, so what we're going to need to do is we're going to need to chain. I'm going to start with 20 chains, maybe 15 to 20. So it depends how long you want her hair to be. I think 20 might be the right amount, but I'm going to check after 15 chains just to see how long that is. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. Yeah, I think 20 is going to be right. I'm going to measure it up against here. And don't forget that the hair curls. So I might actually do, yeah, I think 20 is going to be right. 16, 17, 18, 19, 20. Okie dokie. So for to create her hair and to give her little ringlets, what you're going to want to do is put 2 or 3 single crochets in every stitch. So for this witch, the first stitch has 3 single crochets in it. The rest of them have 2 single crochets each. So if you wanted to give her tighter ringlets, you could give her put 3 single crochets in each stitch. Otherwise, if you're happy with the shape of these ringlets, we'll just leave it at 2. So we'll put 3 single crochets in the first stitch and then 2 in every stitch after that. So we're going to skip the first stitch, work from the second stitch from our hook, and we're going to put 3 single crochets in that stitch. So 1, 2, and 3. And now from here all the way back up to our stalk, we're going to put 2 single crochets in every stitch. 1, 2, 3. Well, I don't know why I'm counting. And you can see pretty much straight away that the piece is starting to curl. Okay, I'm going to keep doing this and I will come back to you when I've reached the top. So we've reached the top stitch here. I'm just going to put 2 single crochets into the final chain. One, and 2, and we're going to slip stitch into the next chain, next stitch on the stalk. So slip stitch into this stitch here and pull it through that one. Okay, we're then going to do exactly the same thing. So we're going to chain 20, put 3 single crochets in the first stitch and 2 single crochets in every other stitch all the way back up to the top, and then we're going to repeat that. So we're going to repeat the steps for this 5 more times. Okay, so 20 chains, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and oh, that's a bit loose, 19 and 20. Okay, so 20, sorry, was second stitch from the hook. We're going to put 3 single crochets in there, 1, 2, 3, and then 2 single crochets in every stitch after that. Okay, so we're going to essentially, like I said, we're going to repeat what we did for this first set of curls. We're going to repeat that 5 more times. So I'm going to do that and I will be back in just a minute. So we are at the last 5 stitches of the last piece of her hair. So we'll do those bits together. 1, don't know why I'm counting again. I think it's force of habit. When I'm making amigurumi, I'm constantly counting. I think that's one of the reasons that I like it so much, actually. I am one of those strange people that loves maths and numbers. So anything that involves maths and counting, it just, it fits well in my brain, you know? So our last stitch, we're then going to slip stitch into that next stitch, and then with that we're going to pull a relatively long excuse me, a relatively long tails, so we can sew this onto our pumpkin. Okay, so I've still got orange yarn threaded in my needle. Get rid of that. We'll thread our tapestry needle now so that we can start sewing on this straight away. And then we get our pumpkin. We put the hair on our pumpkin, kind of like how you want it to sit. And then we're going to sew that down. So how you want to sew it is that you want to sew each one of the green bits to the pumpkin. So you don't need to worry so much about the central stalk. We're worried more about the curly bits. Okay, so I am going to start, because the thread is at the edge of this one here, I'm going to start sewing this one down. So I'm going to go into, make sure I get that right, into the side of that one there. Okay, and then I'm going to go into my pumpkin and then back out through the other side. If you can see that, the other side, get that a little bit closer to the edge, back out to the other side of that curly bit, like so. Okay, and then we're going to go into the next curly bit, into the thread of the, into the stitch below it of the pumpkin, and then back out to the side stitch, there we go, of that bit of hair. Okay, so this third one is a little bit different, so we're going to go, well, not the start of this one. I'm actually going to go up the stitch and then into the pumpkin. Okay, back out into the top of our curly bit. Okay, and then we're gonna go into the curly bit and the pumpkin, there we go, like that. And then back into the curly bit. Okay, into the top here at the stalk, and we're going to go into the pumpkin there. From the pumpkin back into the curly bit. Okay, we're going to stitch this curly bit down, so we're going to go back into the curly bit, into the pumpkin, back into this curly bit, okay, into the top and into the pumpkin, there we go, into this curly bit. This is the next curly bit, by the way. Okay, we're going to go a little bit down in this curly bit and then into the pumpkin at the same time. Let's make sure we, yeah, there we go. Into the pumpkin, just there. Back into the curly bit at the top. And just stitch it down. I'm giving you tutorials on things I'm pretty sure you know how to do. And there we go. I'm going to grab, see that thread at the bottom there? That's what I'm going to knot the end of this thread, the tail end of this thread to. So I pulled it through there. I'll show you a bit better. There's the camera, there we go. Show you a bit better, hopefully. So we're going to go into that, wrap it around, and then go back through that thread. I'm going to go backwards just because I'm running out of thread here. Pull it into a knot, and then like we did with the pumpkin earlier, we're going to push, we're going to squeeze our pumpkin. Let's go that way. Squeeze our pumpkin tight, push the needle through, pull it all the way through, pull the needle off actually, snip the yarn, and then let go of our pumpkin. What have we done there? Oh no. Regardless, I'll be able to fix that. So I've accidentally come out with the thread too short, so I'll show you how to fix that actually. We stick the needle into the pumpkin a little bit, okay, and then we're going to thread the needle like so, okay. I'm going to squish the needle all the way through the pumpkin, literally just pull that thread into the pumpkin, and there we go, all done. So that is our witch's hair. Okay, perfect little pumpkin. All right, so the next thing we're going to work on is our witch's hat, and the final part of this tutorial. So I'm going to get my black yarn ready and I'll be back in a sec. So for the witch's hat, we're going to need a stitch marker and we're going to need our black yarn. We're going to start the hat with a magic circle. So once again, we're going to take the tail end of the yarn with our thumb and our forefinger, and we're going to wrap the working end of the yarn around those two fingers, with the working end going at the back. Okay, we're then going to grab the working end, go underneath the first loop, grab the working end and pull it through, just a touch. Okay, pop that on your hook and then grab the working end again and pull it through that little loop that you've just created. And then again, do that again to create a chain. Okay, and that is your magic circle. So into this magic circle, we are going to put 5 single crochets. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. Okay, we're then going to take the tail end and pull this super tight. Okay, so the witch's hat gets worked in a spiral, okay, with the first stitch being an increase. Every single row, the first stitch is an increase. And that is why we've got the stitch marker. So we don't need it quite right in this stitch at the moment. So into our first stitch straight away, it's a little bit more difficult to work because it's black yarn. But into your first stitch, right away, we're going to put 2 single crochets. 1 and 2. Okay. And into that first single crochet, you're going to pop your stitch marker. Okay, there's no point closing it because you're going to move it every row. Okay, so we're going to work 4 more single crochets to get back to that stitch marker. 1, 2, 3, and 4. Okay, so we're going to then remove that stitch marker, place 2 single crochets, and pop the stitch marker back into the first single crochet that you created of this row. So we're going to go and create, this is the first single crochet. So that's 1. I'm going to pop the stitch marker straight into that stitch. And into that same stitch, you're going to pop another single crochet. Okay, and then in every other stitch of this row, you're going to do 1 single crochet. Sorry, with black yarn, your stitches are that little bit more difficult to see. Okay, so we're back at that stitch marker now, so we're going to take it out. So just pulling some more yarn out. I'm going to take out our stitch marker. Your first single crochet and pop your stitch marker. Sorry, do that again. Did that a little bit loose. So let's pop your first single crochet. There we go. And we're going to pop that stitch marker straight onto that stitch. A little bit easier than that would be better. And then into that same stitch, we're going to do another single crochet. And then a single crochet in every other stitch until we get back to the stitch marker. Okay, and again we're back at our stitch marker. So we are going to take it out, and into that stitch we're going to put one single crochet and pop the stitch marker back in it. And into that same stitch we're going to do another single crochet. Okay, every stitch after that gets one single crochet until we're back at our stitch marker. Okay, again we're back at our stitch marker, so we're going to take it out, pop a single crochet in there, pop the stitch marker into the single crochet we've just created, pop another single crochet into that same stitch, and then work our way around with a single crochet in each stitch until we get back to the marker. Okay, and we're back at our stitch marker again. So as you can see, we are starting to create, let me pull that out a little bit. We're starting to create a cone shape. like so. It's a bit difficult to show black yarn, but there you go. So you're starting to create a cone shape. So you need to continue working around until, let's go until we've got 35 stitches in the round. Start with 35, see how that looks on our pumpkin, because I don't know if you can tell, I'm having to adjust the pattern slightly because one pumpkin has turned out to be bigger than the original pumpkin, and I have no idea why, because I'm using the same pattern. So yeah, that's very curious. Anyway, I'm adjusting. So yes, we'll work around, keep working around in the round until we've got 35 stitches, and we will assess the situation with 35 stitches, and I will come back after that. So I thought I'd do a quick check-in on my way to 35 stitches. This is what we're looking at I think we've got 16 stitches here. But as you can see, it starts to curve off to the left. Well, depends which way you point it as to which direction it's going, I guess. But it does start to curve off. I think that just adds to its character. But yeah, that's all part of it. It does start curving off like that. Keep going until we get to 35 stitches. I might check in again on our way there. So I've worked up to 30 stitches on the round, and I'm measuring this up against my pumpkin now. And I think that that is roughly the right size, okay? But what I need to do is now increase until I'm in a multiple of 8. This just, so I need to increase, I'm not going to go into the reasons behind it. It's just the maths of how we need to increase for the brim of the hat. So we need to increase to a multiple of 8. So the nearest multiple of 8, I'm at 30 stitches at the moment. The nearest multiple is going to be 32. So I'm going to do 2 more rows of increases, and then I'm going to come back and I'm going to show you how to do the brim of the hat. So here we have our hat. It's a little bit twisted. Don't worry about that right now. We've got 32 stitches going around at the bottom. And what we're now going to do is we are going to complete a row of half double crochets. So half double crochets, if you remember from the pumpkin, is where you wrap your hook, pop your hook through the stitch, grab the yarn, pull it through, and grab the yarn and pull it through all 3 loops on your hook. Okay, I'm going to pop the stitch marker back on that stitch. There we go. And I'm going to complete a full row of half double crochets. That's 10, 11, 12. Like I said before, when I'm doing amigurumi, I'm always counting. 13. It drives my partner nuts because he can't talk to me while I'm doing this. 14, 15, 16. That's halfway. 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26. There's 6 stitches left. 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. 27, 28, 29, 30, oops, 31, and 32. Okay, so we're now going to be working an increase row, and every row is going to be an increase row until we've made the brim of the hat large enough for our pumpkin. Now I'm assuming you followed the exact same pattern that I followed. Your pumpkin's going to be the same size as mine. I don't know what happened between the original one that I made and the one that I'm making now. I might have changed my hook size, but this one's definitely bigger. So I'm adjusting my pattern for the new pumpkin. Okay, so our next row, we are going to increase every 4th stitch. So every 4th stitch, we are going to put 2 half double crochets in the stitch. So, and I'm going to count it out. So by the end of the row, we're going to have 40 stitches, and I'm going to count it out and point out where the increases are as I go along. Okay, so we'll get started with 1, 2, 3, and this one's where the increase is. We're going to do 4 and 5 in the same stitch. 4, and that's 5. Okay, and we are going to repeat that 8 times. So that's 5, 6, no, I didn't do a half. 6, 7, 8, and the next one's the increase, so 2 in the next stitch. That's 9, and that is 10. Okay, and let's keep going. 11, 12, 13, the next stitch is the increase, 14 and 15, 16, 17, 18, your next stitch is the increase, 19 and 20, 21, 22, where are you? There we go. 23. The next stitch is the increase. 24 and 25. 26, 27, 28. Your next one, wait, 28. Your next one's the increase, so 29 and 30. 31, 32, 33, The next one's your increase, so 34 and 35, 36, 37, 38, and your next one's the increase, 39 and 40. Okay, let's pull that out. So as you can see, we are starting to flatten out the brim. Okay, that is what's happening at the bottom here. Okay, so we're going to keep doing these increase rounds. So we increased every 4th stitch. Now we're going to increase every 5th stitch, and we will have 48 stitches at the end of the round. Again, I'm going to work with you. I'm going to count them out. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4. Next stitch is the increase. 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10. Next stitch is the increase. 11 and 12. Then we've got 13, 14, 15, 16. Next stitch is the increase. 17 and 18. 19, 20, 21, 22. The next stitch is the increase. 23, 24. Sorry, just getting more yarn. And 25, oh, it's not a half. 25, 26, 27, 28. Next stitch is an increase. No, it's not. Yes, it is. 28, sorry. 29 and 30. That's not right. It was supposed to be on 32. Sorry, that was my fault. I'm going to take it. Where's the first increase? So that's 24, 25, 26, 27, 28. Sorry. 29, 30. Next stitch is an increase. 31 and 32. 33, 34, 35, 36, 37, 38, oh, bear with me, sorry, Quince needle in my hand, takes a minute sometimes. So this is an increase one, 39 and 40, 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, and last increase, 47 and 48. Okay, so I'm going to pull that out a little bit and place this flat so we can see where we're at. Okay, that is what our hat is looking like so far. I don't know if you can see that properly, but that is where we're at. So we do have to continue making increases. We can't continue doing it on the same numbers that I've been using, because as you can see, we're getting an octagon kind of shape to our hat. And so now we've got 48, so we divide 48 by 8, and that is 6, right? Yes, so 48 divided by 8 is 6. So we need to increase on every 6th stitch, but what I'm going to do is I'm going to move the line over a couple of stitches. So what I'm going to do before we even start is I am going to do 3 half doubles, okay, to move the start of our line, and now we will increase every 6 stitches. Okay, so by the end of the row we will have 56 stitches. Okay, so I'm going to count and do it with you once again. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, and the next one's an increase, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, oops, lost that stitch, so we're going to do 11 again, 11, 12, and the next stitch is an increase, 13, and 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, and the next stitch is an increase, 20, and 21, 22, 23, 24, 25, 26, and the next stitch is an increase, 27, 28, 29, 30, 31, 32, 33, next stitch is an increase, 34, and 35. It really does help being good at maths. Like, all of this, I know how to do all of this. I know where all of the increases go because I know my times tables. And I'm also likewise pretty sure that I know my times tables because I do amigurumi so often. So 36, 37, 38, 39, 40, next stitch is an increase, 41, 42, 43, 44, right, 45, 46, 47, next stitch is an increase, 48, 49. So you're just pulling out more yarn. Okay, should be enough to get us through. And 50, oops, 51, 52, 53, 54, and the next stitch is an increase, 55, and 56. Okay, so I'm going to pull the tail out. There we go, just a little bit like that. We're going to look at our hat. That is our witch's hat so far. Okay, so pop that up there. That is what we look like so far. Nice flat brim. Got a bit of a wonky top, but we can fix that if we want to. Let's pop that on our pumpkin. Okay, I think we'll need at least one more row. So we're going to do one more row of half double crochets and we'll measure that up against our pumpkin again. Okay, so let's see. It is quite round. And I don't want to, so I'm going to move it across. I'm going to move it across two. So 1 and 2. All right, this time we need to increase every 8th stitch, I believe. No, every 7th stitch. And there will be a total of 64 stitches. Yeah, 64 stitches by the end of the row. So let's go. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, and your next stitch is an increase. 7 and 8. 9, 10, 11, oops, 11, and 12, 13, 14, next stitch is an increase, 15, 16, 17, 18, 19, 20, 21, 22, your next stitch is an increase, 23, 24, 25, 26, 27, oops, 28, 29, 29, 30, and your next stitch is an increase, 31, 32, we're halfway across the round, 1, 2, 3, 4, 4, 5, 6. Next, this stitch is an increase, by the way. 7 and 8, 8. That takes you to 40 stitches. 41, 42, 43, 44, 45, 46, 47, your next stitch is an increase, oh this stitch is an increase, sorry, 47 and 48, sorry about that, and I haven't done this stitch properly either, so I need to undo it. So I went into the wrong part of the stitch, so where are we? We've gone into that stitch we need, 47 and 48. 49, 50, 51, 52, 53, 54, next stitch is an increase, 55, 56, then last increase, 57, more yarn, 58, 59, 60, 61, 62, and the next stitch is the last increase, 63, where are we? 63, and 64. Okay, once again, I'm going to pull out the stitch. I feel like that's it. That is our witch's hat. We're going to pop that on our pumpkin. There we go. And as you can see, that is what it looks like. Okay, so I think that that is the perfect size for this pumpkin. All right, we're going to stop it there, pop our pumpkin to the back to the side. We are going to snip the yarn, leaving a reasonable tail. Okay, and pull this through. Okay, I'm going to thread the end onto my needle. Oops, let's try that again. Cut it down a bit. Thread our needle, like so. I am going to see at the end there, you can see that that stitch isn't even on the rest of them, so I'm just going to pop this through a little bit just to pull it in line with the rest of the stitches, like so. Okay, and from there I'm going to take on the inside, so on the bottom of the hat, I am going to take the yarn and run it down till about the 3rd row from the end, so like so. Okay. So there you can see that the end of the hat is sewn in. Just pull that out a little bit so it's not quite so. Here we go. So the end of the hat is sewn in. And we've sewn the thread to the inside of the hat. So this is where we sew the hat to the pumpkin. Okay, so we've pulled the yarn to the inside. I don't know if you can see that because of the black, but it's there. That's where the edge is coming out. Sorry, the working end tail yarn is coming out. Sorry, I'm tired of making so many mistakes now. Just human, bear with me. Okay, we're then going to place the hat on the pumpkin. No, we're not. We're going to stuff the hat. That's what we need to do. Sorry, forgot a step. So we're going to take some stuffing. I'm going to break it up into little pieces, especially for that very, very tip piece. I'm going to start stuffing the hat and pushing it all the way up to the tip of the hat. Okay, so this is all in little pieces, but I'm chucking it in all at the same time. Okay, and it's at this point that you can put little bends. So you could keep the little curls in the hat that it originally had, or you can put little bends in of your own. Okay, so if you wanted the hat to fold down, for example, we can sew that little bit down. Okay, so it's very much how you want your hat on your pumpkin to look. Okay, so I'm going to stuff it, not totally rigid stuff it, but I am going to stuff it quite well to get most of those little bends out of our, I don't know, I think that's quite cute, those little bends in there. Yeah, I think I'm going to leave that. Okay, so we've stuffed it like so. Now, all right, we're going to decide where the front of our pumpkin is. So I'm going to decide that the seam of our pumpkin is kind of its pumpkin butt. So that is the back. That is the back of our pumpkin. It's a little pumpkin butt. And that is where the hat is going to sit on my pumpkin. So I'm going to sew that, essentially just sew it to your pumpkin. Okay. So I'm going to get this sewn on and I will come back once it's all done. So this is where we are. We've sewn the hat on our pumpkin. She is looking cute. You got a little pumpkin butt at the back there. And that is the face. So we now have to create the nose. That's the very last thing we have to do. And the nose uses orange yarn. That's just a thread. 1 second. Want some orange yarn here. Bear with me. Right, so for the nose of our pumpkin witch, we need to create a magic circle, which I've shown you how to do multiple times now. So there we go. And in that circle, we're going to put six single crochets. 2, 3, 4, 5, and 6. Okay, well, we'll pull the end tight. And here we go. So we are going to work an increase into every single one of these stitches. So 2 single crochets into each stitch, please. One, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, and 12. Okay, so that's one, so that's an increase in every stitch. We started off with 6 stitches. We now have 12. Okay, so we're going to do one more increase. So at the end of this round, we're going to have 18 stitches. So you're going to increase every second stitch on this one. So we'll go into the first one, and then in the second we'll increase. So 1, 2. So if you do that across the 12 stitches you've got left here, and you should end up with 18 stitches at the end. So we now have 18 stitches going round, and we're going to do one row of 18 stitches, so a single crochet in each stitch. If you get that done, and we'll be back in just a sec. So that is our row of 18 stitches done, and we're now going to start decreasing. So we're going to decrease in every second and third stitch. So to decrease, you work as follows. So you'll work 1 stitch as normal, and then in order to decrease in the second and third, you go into your first stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through, go into the second stitch, grab your yarn, pull it through. So you've got 3 loops on your hook. You grab your yarn and pull through all 3 loops, like so. Okay, I'm going to do that a little bit better because it's a little bit loose. So first stitch, second stitch, pull through all 3. Okay, and we're going to continue doing that 5 more times across the round. So that's 3, 4, 5, and 6. 7, 8, and 9. 10, 11, and 12. 13, 14, and 15. 16, 17, and 18. Like so. Okay, I'm now going to take this end piece and stuff it in the middle there, because we're going to close off this little ball. I'm also going to take the tiniest amount of stuffing and pop it in there. So let's grab some stuffing, roll it into a ball. I think that's a bit too much actually. It's half that. Let's try that bit. Right, we're going to pop this stuffing in, but we're probably going to need to use the crochet hook to do it. Right, fingers work just as well. Okay, so we have got 12 stitches left on this little ball, so that means it's going to be an increase, sorry, not an increase, a decrease into every stitch, so 6 decreases going around. So we'll go grab 1, grab 2 and pull through, grab 3, I'll grab 3, grab 4, I left it a little bit loose, hold on, so I need to tighten that a bit. So grab 3, and grab 4 and pull through. Grab 5, oh yeah, whole stitch, I don't know why I keep doing that. Grab 5 and grab 6 and pull through. Grab 7 and 8 and pull through. Grab 9 and 10, pull through, and then finally 11 and 12 and pull through. And that last bit, keep pulling through until you've got quite a significant tail, like so. I hope you can see that. And we're going to snip it off. Okay, from there, we're going to take the tail, pop it on our needle. Okay, we're going to stitch. Which way around are we going? Is it this way around? Yeah. We're going to stitch into every one of these holes. So in and out through every one of these holes. Just to tighten and close this little gap. Okay. There we go. And there we have a little nose for our witch. Okay, I'm going to pop that on her face, just under her hat, like so. And that's just sewn onto the pumpkin itself, not onto the hat. So let's just sew that on to our pumpkin. Perfect. Okay, we're then going to knot off our thread. So that is exactly as it sounds. We're going to tie it in a knot a couple of times. And that thread is going to be pushed through our pumpkin. So squish the pumpkin, push the needle through, pull out the other end. Oh, that's your needle. And then snip the yarn. And there, my friends, you have a pumpkin witch. Isn't she gorgeous? I'm going to take some artsy type shots of her so you can see her properly. But that is it. That is our tutorial for the day. I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making it. I mean, this one has been a little bit different to the normal tutorials. The normal tutorials, I know the pattern straight off. This one has been adapted. She's like the big sister to the original Pumpkin Witch. But we got there in the end. You know, everything worked out. So, like I said, I hope you've enjoyed it. I've enjoyed making it. If you do end up making a Pumpkin Witch, please tag me. I'd love to see your creations. Please like, subscribe, share, follow, all the buttons, all the love. I would really appreciate it. Happy crocheting, and I'll see you in the next one.